Dark, cold, eerie. That's how I've always described the house I grew up in. It was always so dark, blistering cold in the winter, and there was something unsettling about it, like the walls themselves were alive with secrets. The strange noises from the cellar didn't help. They gave me the creeps, though I never admitted that to Mom. I had to be strong, the man of the house, since Dad left when I was 7. I hated him. Dad, I mean. Hated him with a burning passion. He walked out on us and left Mom to raise me alone. My hatred for him was like a weight I carried every day, but I'll leave it at that. It was just me, Mom, Linda, and my Uncle Kevin, living on a stretch of land in Steinen, Indiana. Steinen is a speck in the middle of nowhere, the kind of place where even tumbleweeds look bored. I didn't have friends. Homeschooled kids rarely do, especially in a town this dead. I'd never even seen another kid my age around. Most of the time, we stayed home unless Mom had to go into town for groceries. Uncle Kevin was my lifeline, though. He'd tell me ghost stories before bed when I was little, much to Mom's dismay. "Stop it, Kev. You'll give him nightmares," she'd say. And she was right. I did have nightmares. Sometimes they felt more real than dreams should. Kevin's favorite story was about a monster with a twisted body and black, soulless eyes. "If you stay up past your bedtime," he'd warn, "the monster will hide in your closet and watch you all night." I knew he made it up to scare me, but that image, it stuck. It planted itself in my mind like a seed. And over the years, it grew into something I couldn't shake. That night started like any other. I had a pounding headache, so I went to bed early, hoping sleep would take it away. I set my glasses on the nightstand, turned off the light, and sank under the covers. The cold sheets clung to my body as I stared into the darkness. There's something about pitch black darkness that pulls you in. It's hypnotic, like staring into a void that stares back. Then I heard it, scratching at the window above my bed. My eyes shot open, and my breath caught in my throat. I froze. What the hell was that? I told myself it was nothing. A branch, maybe. But there were no trees near my window. My heart raced, and against my better judgment, I pulled the curtain back to check. Nothing. Just the empty yard. I told myself I was imagining things. I crawled back into bed, but the sound stayed with me. I barely slept that night. The next morning, I couldn't get it out of my head. The sound. The scratching. Where did it come from? And then it hit me. The cellar. I hadn't been down there in years, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I had to check it out. I grabbed a flashlight and crept down the stairs into the abyss. The air was thick with dust, and cobwebs hung like curtains in the corners. I rummaged through a stack of boxes until I found something that stopped me cold. It was a drawing I made when I was a kid. A grotesque creature with a twisted, skeletal body and black, empty eyes. It was raining in the picture, and at the bottom, in shaky letters, I'd written, "Please stay awake." The memory hit me like a gut punch. I didn't remember drawing it or why, but it was there, proof that the monster from Kevin's story had haunted me longer than I'd realized. I stuffed the paper in my pocket and went back upstairs, trying to shake it off. By the time night fell, the rain had started, heavy and unrelenting. I crawled into bed, hoping for sleep. At 3 a.m., I woke with a jolt. The rain had stopped, but the world outside my window was drenched. The moon was so bright, it looked fake, like someone had hung it in the sky as a cruel joke. And then I saw it. Something moved in the yard. My heart stopped as I squinted through the glass. It wasn't an animal. It was tall, thin, its body contorted in a way that defied nature. When it noticed me watching, it darted behind a tree. I ran to Kevin's room and shook him awake. "Kevin! Kevin! He groaned and sat up, rubbing his eyes. What's wrong, bud? It's late. There's someone in the yard, I whispered, trying to keep my voice steady. He stared at me for a moment, then sighed. It's probably just an animal. Go back to bed. No, I insisted. It's not an animal. Please, you have to check. Kevin grabbed his shotgun from under the bed. All right, let's go. Just don't wake your mom. We stepped outside, and I pointed to the tree where I'd seen it. Kevin walked up to it, gun ready, and peered around. Nothing. He searched the entire yard, but there was no sign of anything. See? Nothing here. Let's lock up and get some sleep. But he was wrong. I knew it. I crawled into bed, pulling the blankets tight around me. The wind outside howled, and then I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. The sound at the window was back, louder this time. The taps turned into knocks, then bangs. It was like the glass was going to shatter. And then it stopped. Silence. Relief washed over me for a split second before I felt it, a cold breath against my ear. Please, stay. Awake. I ran into the hallway, heart pounding, and froze. The creature was there, holding Kevin's lifeless body in its mangled arms. Carved into his torso were the words, "Please stay awake." I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. I stumbled into Mom's room, only to find her on the floor covered in blood. Her arm was missing, and beside her, written in her own blood, were the same words. Please stay awake. I collapsed to the floor, sobbing. By the time the police arrived, I was curled up next to Mom's body, my clothes soaked in her blood. I told them everything. The tapping, the knocking, the creature. But they didn't believe me. Why would they? To them, I was just a kid who snapped. Now I'm in this cell, alone in the cold and the dark. It's raining again tonight, and I'm trying not to look at the window. But I can hear it. Tap, tap, tap.